Thanks, Kirsty. Hi, everybody. Thank you very much to Reed Corporate for putting on today. It's been great as both the Sydney leg and the Melbourne leg. It's really good to be back live to seeing everybody again. And finally, thank you to everyone for hanging around. I was a bit worried about what would happen at 5 o'clock. So, people have hung in, they've missed the Melbourne Mining Club and they're here, and there's clearly a beer to come, but thank you very much for hanging around and hearing the story. So who are we? As Kirsty kindly said, we're based up there in Sweden. We're focused on two highly prospective assets: the copper gold asset at Falun, and also the silver zinc asset that we have there at Sala. I've been on board for all of 10 weeks. My head is spinning. I've been running around that much that as I say, my feet have barely touched the ground. But what I can report is in that period of time, everything I thought about this company before I joined and the due diligence that I'd done on this company, it's that and more. I'm really excited about where we're getting to and ultimately where we're going. So what it's all about. So first of all, Sweden. Sweden sort of slips below the radar screen a little bit. It's one of those places. In fact, in terms of the resource industry, foreign investment wasn't allowed there up until about the early 90s. So it's sort of slipped under the radar screen a bit. But it's a major mining economy in Europe. It's got the biggest zinc production in Europe. And it's for all of the things that you hear about the green transition and what have you, and certainly I had nightmares about Greta Thunberg and what I was getting myself into when I went up to Sweden. It's a pretty pragmatic place. They understand the importance of mining to the economy and in terms of making things happen up there. It's a great place to be. It ranks very highly on the Fraser Institute of Investment Attractiveness. It's as I say, a good place to be. And also the team that we've got was a big influence on me. Not only the guys that we have here in Australia, and you will have seen a number of I call them loosely group companies, if you like, but Steve Parsons and Ray Shorrocks and the guys that have put together a really interesting portfolio of companies. These guys are really focused on value creation, and when you look at what they've done with the likes of Bellevue and other things, it's been pretty amazing. It's all around that fundamental thesis of finding some of those unloved assets which are highly prospective and really looking to sort of turn those things around. And the guys that we have in Sweden as well, absolutely amazing. Eric London, is somewhat of a rock star when it comes to geology up there in Sweden. In fact, the team that he's put together have all sort of sought him out as wanting to work with him more so than anything else. He's responsible for 7 discoveries up there in Sweden, and the areas that we have, he's been studying for 35 years. I mean, I'm no geo, but he sort of shows me all of his maps where he's spent hours and hours and hours walking around and mapping and seeing where things are. It's pretty amazing. Mostly goes over my head, unfortunately. But he's done a magnificent job, and we're extremely lucky. And I don't think I over-egg it when I sort of say that there's actually no one better in the world to be driving our drill bit than Eric. But it's really ultimately it's all about the assets, and from my perspective, doing that due diligence and seeing what these guys, what Alicanto had actually managed to put its foot on was, pretty incredible. I mean, these assets have been around for hundreds of years, and in Falun's case, it's been there for 1,000 years. I mean, Falun in itself was the biggest copper producer in the Western world for hundreds of years. For those history buffs like me, the copper roof on Versailles comes from Falun. I mean, these two mines financed Sweden to become a superpower in the late Middle Ages. I mean, it's incredible history that you've got up there. And in Falun, it produced 28 million tonnes at 4% copper and 4 grams per tonne gold. I mean, it blows your mind when you start thinking about those sort of numbers. You think about Sala in the same breath. That Sala closed in 1908. It, at the time, was one of the biggest, highest grade silver mines in Europe. I mean, incredible. It produced 200 million ounces at an average grade of 1,244 grams a tonne. I mean, you think and let those numbers sort of sink in a little bit. It's incredible. And not only that, is that it mined grades of up to 7,000 grams a tonne. I mean, it's just, if we can find anything like that, I mean, it's a massive game changer for us. And again, we haven't been there that long, but the real opportunity for us is that, you know, not much has happened there. So when Falun closed in the early 90s, nothing's happened there in 30 years. There hasn't been a drill hole put in there for 30 years. And as I say, Sala, nothing's happened at Sala since 1908. So that's the real opportunity for us there. And at Sala, you know, in less than 12 months, we've put a 10 million tonne resource in place. You know, there's 300,000 tonnes of zinc there, and there's 15 million ounces of silver. And that's just the start. That's just the work that we've done to date. Again, the same at Falun. We put our first drill hole in there. You know, when I first joined the company, there was a break in the drilling program, you know, while we wait for the ground to freeze up again at Sala. And we put in our first drill hole at Falun, and we hit 43 metres of sulphides. I mean, it's sort of amazing, really, that, you know, as I said, it all seems to have slipped under the radar screen. So pretty exciting for us. So very quickly, in terms of the corporate summary, we're only capped at 25 million, and I think that's largely to do with the fact that, you know, in my mind, that people don't really know what we have there. But, you know, hopefully that as we start to sort of get these results that we've had at Falun and we start to build on those, then hopefully things change reasonably rapidly. So why Sweden? You know, Sweden in itself is, you know, as I said, is a major mining economy. You hear a lot about Sweden, and when I was doing my due diligence, you know, the issues about it being green and the issues about the time that it takes with permitting and what have you. You know, what my reading sort of told me, a lot of that happens up here in the north, where you see all of the old iron ore mines up there. And I don't know if you guys saw a program on Foreign Correspondent not so long ago where they talked about the Sami people and the reindeer herding, and they were sort of relating it to all the Aboriginal voice to Parliament. It's just, you've got the same issues up here. It's a very culturally sensitive part of the world between Finland, Norway, Sweden, and all of that work, all of that issue that goes on up there near the Arctic Circle. But we're down here in the Bergslagen region. And you can see some pretty major mines, you know, some of the largest and highest grade massive sulphide deposits that they've got here, in terms of Garpenberg, which is sort of operated by Boliden, the biggest mining company in Sweden. You know, it's and also Zinkgruvan here, which is operated by Lundin. So it's a really prospective part of the world. You know, the infrastructure. I mean, we're only an hour out of Stockholm. You know, so, you know, the guys told me we'd be sort of taking the back roads up to the mine. I mean, we haven't got freeways as good as they've got in terms of back roads up to the mine. It's quite incredible, the infrastructure, airports, ports, roads, rail. I mean, just fantastic what we've got there. Very highly educated workforce. The opportunities there are outstanding. But I think that, as I sort of touched on before, you know, to me, you know, how pragmatic they are about their mining industry and how it fits within the economy is quite key. So, you know, I spent a bit of time there with the local council, and, you know, again, our pitch to them was all about, you know, this is not new. This is all a continuation of history, and for, as I say, that history is hundreds and hundreds of years old. So, you know, we're going back there in January. We're going to set up working committees together. So how do we best build this mine and make it work for the community, and they're really receptive. And the town, Sala is a bit of a dying town up there. It's you know, people are sort of moving on, and so for them to have a mine in the town or get the mine started again would be outstanding for them. So and between that, and I think the other important point to note that obviously, as you see in the news, what's going on with Russia and the Ukraine, I mean, these guys are almost on the front line. There's a real feeling that they need to be self-sufficient. There's a real feeling that they've got to move away from Russia. So for us, in many instances, it's almost like right time, right place. You know, to be self-sufficient in zinc and copper, a silver, big conductor there. You know, it's front of mind for these guys, and I think that's a lot of that goes to the reception that we've had in terms of talking to politicians, not only at the local level but also at the national level. But so Sala itself, you know, pretty interesting. So what we have here in terms of where we're going, you can see here the old Sala mine. Again, you know, 200 million ounces came out of that mine, and you can see our resource that goes around Sala. So again, as I say, we've done 20,000 metres of drilling there to put that resource in place in 12 months. And you know, and the plan here is that we're going to continue to drill to the north, continue to drill down here to the south. Our view is that this Prince lode continues underneath the Sala deposit. So it moves towards another older mine, the old Bronos mine that we've got up here. So what is ultimately sort of the 10 million tonnes ultimately become? Is it 20 or 30 million tonnes? We don't know yet, but there's certainly a lot more material there. But even at 10 million tonnes, we've got something that we can absolutely work with. But the exciting bit for me is that, sorry, I'll go back there. The exciting bit that we've got for me there is that, while the way that the geology works, we're in a limestone reef there. The top layer of that is the lead silver, and the bottom layer is the zinc. So what we have so far in our resource is very much a zinc-dominated resource. But the real exciting bit for me is that if we can find some of this high-grade silver, and we'll be what Eric says, if you didn't know about where the Sala mine was here, we probably would have drilled over here where we have these repeated fold formations, and at the top of those folds is ultimately where the mineralisation is found. So again, that's the geology that we've got here, and there's no drill holes here. So we're going to put some drill holes over here and hopefully sort of find some of these Sala repeats. Down here you can see the rock chips at almost 1,500 grams per tonne of silver. If we find anything of that sort of grade, I mean, when you start talking about some of the great silver mines of the world, they don't have grades at that level. Again, and this has been proven over time in history, it's done it here, 200 million tonnes at north of 1,000 grams per tonne. So again, if we can do that sort of thing, that's a massive game changer for us. It's an interesting story as well. So Eric, our geo, found Garpenberg. Garpenberg is one of the major VMS deposits of the world. This originally what it was is that you had the open pit here and the underground mine here. Boliden had operated this since 1957, about to close it. Eric put a 2-kilometre drill hole across here. Didn't find any mineralisation in that drill hole, but he found all of these anomalies sitting below it. They then went and drilled it, and now they've got a 170 million tonne resource here. It's a 30, 40, 50-year mine. So and forgive my PowerPoint skill, I'm not terribly good at it, but this is what Sala looks like, and I've tried to sort of draw it to scale. There's your 200 million ounces of silver sort of sitting there. Again, it sort of fits into one of those same squares that you can see there at Garpenberg. It's all the same rocks, it's all the same limestone reef, and from Eric's perspective, it's a matter of hopefully doing it all over again there. Just watching time, we're getting a little bit short, getting carried away, apologies. But the other exciting thing about the deposit is the high-grade portion of that deposit. So I said before we got 10 million tonnes there. Half of that is at 6% zinc equivalent, compared to the 4.5% across the rest of the deposit. I get really excited when I sort of see almost 5 metres at 24% zinc, 875 grams per tonne silver. Again, these are the sort of touches that we're getting that are potentially game changers for us here. Then on to Falun. When I joined the company, all of our focus had ultimately been on Sala. Eric was very excited about this, and this is where we first started when we got to Sweden. But we picked up Sala for nothing. Eric had drilled it while he'd been at Boliden, and Boliden had dropped it. So the guys saw, the chance of putting a resource on the ground very quickly. So they moved on to Sala, and we did that. But while we've been waiting for the ground to freeze, we've had the opportunity to go back to Falun, and again. This is where your 28 million tonnes at 4% copper came from and 4 grams per tonne gold. This, as I said, this is the area that Eric's been walking in for sort of 35 years. These are the horizons that he's mapped over that time. And you can see from Sala here, this is where we put our first drill hole only a few weeks ago. And this is where we hit 43 metres of sulphides. I mean, an extraordinary hole when you think about it. And there's nothing between... Oh shit, what have I done now? Is that me? I'm not very technical. That's why they let me know anything drilling, anything technical. I've got to stay well away from. Even the PowerPoint slides, I'm a danger to. But anyway, so as I said, so there's nothing between Falun here and the drill hole we put there. That's 3.5 kilometres where there hasn't been a drill hole. So we put one thing here, had an amazing hit, and to get back there and start to have a look at what potentially is there is incredibly exciting. If we have a look at that first drill hole, and when I see the likes of Eric and Steve Parsons getting very excited about this, that makes me excited as well. Again, all the minerals that we're looking for in the chalcopyrite, in the galena, and the sphalerite, it's all in that hole. What we did is this is some of the old workings near Falun, and we put this drill hole to sort of go underneath there. So this hole finished about 180 metres. we drilled down about another 50 metres underneath there. And there's your 43 metres of sulphide, number of conductors within the hole, and after we did the EM, there was a massive off-hole conductor as well. So look, what we've done is that we've sort of shown that it's there and that it needs to ultimately be followed up. But, you know, again, when you sort of, again, I'm no geo, but when you start to look at that old ore body there, you can't help but think that potentially it sort of comes down like that and continues. And as I say, there's 3.5 kilometres along that haven't had, and this is the first hole that's gone in there. So yeah, hopefully there's a lot more that we can find sort of moving on. And very, very quickly, Sweden, I think overlooked, really exciting, very pragmatic in their approach to resources, despite all the things that you sort of hear potentially out there about you know, getting your permits and what have you. Nothing like a war with Russia to focus the attention. These are 2 brownfield projects that have been around for a long time, and you know, and really, when you start to apply modern techniques to what has been done, I think potentially some massive upside for us. And lastly, I think, you know, a magnificent team in which to sort of take it all forward. So thank you very much for your time. I appreciate you hanging around, and yeah, watch the story. I think there's a lot more to come. Thank you.